Welcome. I want to welcome everybody to the City of Coolidge City Council regular meeting of August 12, 2019. First order of business will be the invocation by Pastor Anthony Warren with New Hope International Ministry. And after the invocation, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. Let's bow our heads. Father, we just praise you. We give you the glory and honor for this meeting that we're about to extend. We pray, God, that you will be in this place, that we pray that you will give us a spirit of peace, that we'll be able to imagine and come up with ideas, strategize, that we'll be able to be the best city that we can be. We pray that you will bless the mayor, city council members, as well as the city manager. We pray, God, that they will organize their mind together, that they'll be able to come up with ideas that will best meet this city. We pray for the attendance that's in this meeting, God, that will go away encouraged, go away speaking well of this city. And we'll give you the glory and honor. We thank you for this opportunity to be in this place today. Everyone say amen. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pastor Anthony. Norma, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Jimmy Walker?
Here.
Councilmember Tina Kaufman?
Here.
Councilmember Steve Hudson? Mayor John Thompson?
Here.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry?
Here.
Councilmember Ben Navarro?
Here.
And Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. Move to item number 4, under presentations, a monthly report and business spotlight recognitions by the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce. Good evening, Lynn.
Good evening. Boy, I had to bring that mic way down from you. It gives me great pleasure to have our spotlight, Coolidge Glass and Mirror. The company, the business has been here since the 1950s, and we have new owners now. I'd like to introduce Christy and Joe Velasquez. You know my... Come on,
What?
you're so cute, Lynn.
What was that last name?
Well, to make it easier, it's Velasquez.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But it very rarely gets said right on the first try anyway. It took me months. I'm Christy. This is Joseph. He's my partner. We have another partner, but he couldn't make it this evening. But we thank you guys. It's been nice being here in Coolidge to be new business owners and take over a legacy for our prior owners and hopefully grow it and make it something more than what it was and keep going here in Coolidge and the surrounding Pinell County. So this is exciting for us.
Yep, welcome. Want to help grow the community, give them a place they could come instead of going out of town, keep it in town, keep everybody here. That's what I want. So,
Thank you. That's what we want to hear. And welcome and thank you very much for choosing
thank you.
Coolidge.
I did sit there and practice that for 5 minutes, and I
We
still
did
couldn't
very
do
well.
it. Okay, so to go to our reinvestments for June, CEMEX, Walmart, Sky Flight Services, LLC, Untangled Web Solutions, Southwest Gas, Codazona, Against Abuse, Bright International, Saint Holdings, and Curves. Our new members for June are Grizzly Discount Flooring, Air Conditioning by Gary, DBA Hoffman Heating and Cooling, LLC, and Dairy Queen. Walk-ins, we're at 598, which is up about 1%. Phone calls at 251, up about 21%. We didn't send out any relocation kits in June. Top states that visit us was South Carolina. We didn't have any foreign countries visit us in June, which is rare. June permits were up at 51, and that's up 155%. Values at $2,753,000 year to date. Total permits is 266, 14,344. Casa Grande Ruins for June, visitation is up. 3,384 year-to-date, 43,785. That's about almost 40% up. A few things coming up. We have a ribbon cutting for Jesus Died for You on August 14th. Empowerment Therapy, we got to do a customer service award with them this week, which was really great. They're going to have a barbecue on August 17th. Our membership luncheon will be on August 21st, and then a ribbon cutting for Women's Health Palace on the 22nd. Any questions?
Any questions? No? I don't think so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a call to the public. This is the time in the meeting where if you want to address the council, you can step forward to the podium, announce your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes to tell us what you think. Okay, not seeing anybody step forward, we'll move out of call to the public. And we'll move into approval of minutes, discussion, and action. For item 5, the City Council regular meeting of July 8th, 2019. Item 6, City Council study session of July 22nd, 2019. Item 7, City Council regular meeting July 22nd, 2019. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions that any member of the council wants to address?
No.
Hearing none, then I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Business items for consent. Mr. Fitzgibbons, I did want to make a few comments on item number 9. Do I need to pull that from the consent agenda, or can I just mention it?
Mr. Mayor, you can make your comments, or you could pull it in however you want to proceed. You can pull it and do the rest of the consent and take it up as the first thing on the regular business, however you want to proceed.
Well, all right, then I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I'm going to go ahead and pull it. There's a few things I wanted to mention.
Okay.
I'm going to pull item 9 from the consent agenda just so we can talk about it a minute and then move forward later. So, does anybody else have anything else they want to talk about, pull from the consent agenda?
No.
Okay. So item 8, consider approval of ratifying the purchase to Force Training Institute as a sole vendor in the amount of $16,442.02 for the purchase of 10 multi-threat shields utilizing Firehouse Subs Public Policy Foundation grant funds, and waiving the bid requirements and approving the sole vendor in the best interest of the city, and ratify entering into the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU. And number 10, consider approval of entering into a purchase and sale agreement and escrow instructions between the City of Coolidge and Stoneworks International, LLC, for the sale of 2 lots, approximately 7,000 square feet of city-owned property on Coolidge Avenue, east of Maine. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I make a motion to approve consent agenda items 8 and 10.
I second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Move to item 9, resolution number 19-17. A resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, supporting the eastward alignment designated as E4 and those alignment segments generally consistent and preferred as shown on Exhibit 1 for the planned north-south freeway, and encouraging the commercial, residential, and industrial development along the proposed north-south freeway corridor. Okay. You don't have any pictures of the north-south corridor freeway. I just wanted to make a few comments.
We didn't.
anticipate anything?
We didn't anticipate any, and that was an oversight on our part. We should have had some prepared. The north-south corridor, as you know, is in discussion. There has not been a set alignment. They're looking at the environmental impact studies for the whole region. We've been meeting with agencies across Pinal County, Town of Florence, Maricopa, Queen Creek, also counties from Maricopa County, with the desire to identify and pin down a preferred alignment. The preferred alignment, the alignment is broken up into 4 segments going from Highway 60 down to I-10. 3 of the 4 segments are agreed upon by all members of the Regional Transportation Authority, the Transportation Advisory Committee members, and the only point of discussion is the south boundary, which is the E4 versus the W4. The E4 alignment goes down the Vale Road alignment, which is consistent with our general plan, as well as the industrial development, as well as the Inland Port Arizona, or IPAS. The western alignment follows Highway 87 down to tie in with the new interchange.
And the council that was sitting before this council approved that alignment?
There hasn't, the preferred alignments for segments 1, 2, and 3, yes, those are all agreed upon by, like I said, by all of the parties. This council previously approved the resolution 8-18 showing the support for the eastern alignment. This is basically just to come and reiterate that, as well as the current alignment that shifted a little bit with the E4 versus what was approved back in the resolution of 2018 or 2008, excuse me. And the previous resolution just tweaked a little bit of the alignment, and it's more of a straightforward shot from going down Vale Road instead of going in and out to accommodate the interchanges.
Okay. Well, the reason that I wanted to say a few words is there seems to be, initially when this came into play, there didn't seem to be a lot of communities that had a whole lot of attention paying to the north-south alignment, whether it was on the Apache Junction side or whether it was on the Eloy side. We didn't have any of that. We went about our business and followed the procedure, and our community came to our preferred route, and the council voted what the community wanted. It seems like lately, everybody wants to move this north-south alignment around, even the fact that the whole idea has been challenged in court, and we don't know if this is even going to fly or not, but all of a sudden everybody's concerned with where this freeway's going to go. And so as far as Coolidge is concerned, this area will introduce significant economic development opportunities for this region, which will have beneficial economic impact to the city of Coolidge through construction sales tax, job creation, and increased property tax. We support the E4 alignment. Pinal County Board of Supervisors have acquired a right-of-way for the north-south consistent with the proposed E4 alignment. And I would tell you this, that Bob Flatley, when he initially talked to me when I was first elected mayor, the first year I was elected mayor, and he came to me and he said, would you rather have these interchanges or this or that, or would you rather have a freeway running through Coolidge where Coolidge wanted it? And that's why we didn't go after any funding. We went after the north-south alignment. And now all these other jurisdictions want to be able to tell us where we can put this alignment. And so I think it's imperative that our council send a message with this today approving Resolution 1917, reaffirming what our citizens already told us they wanted, and reaffirming it to the rest of this county and the region.
And Mr. Mayor, you're absolutely correct in that this is basically just a reiteration of the support that was previously expressed by the members of this council, or not this particular council, but the members of the city council. You're also correct in the fact that there has not been any funding set aside and relinquished for this to move forward. At this point, the Proposition 416, 417 are still in appeal, still in legal hearings back and forth one way or the other. You're also correct in that Pinal County has already taken some of their funding and purchased some of the right-of-way to coincide with the preferred east-west and the preferred eastern alignment of the north-south corridor. And it seems that across the Pinal Regional Transportation Authority, TAC, the Transportation Advisory Committee, the general consensus is to have the E4 alignment. Eloy, of course, is preferring the western alignment, but from all indications that we have, Pinal County is supportive of the E4 alignment just because of the potential impact that it would have to the development and to the industrial development throughout the southern reaches of Coolidge.
Thank you, Matt. And I believe if you read the actual resolution, it lays out a lot of very good reasons why that alignment should be where it is.
Yes, it does. And there's also the map that's included with that resolution that shows what the highlighted preferred alignments across the board are from segments 1, 2, and 3, and also the preferred alignment that we have for E4.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have. Does anybody have any comments? Okay. Then I guess...
With that said, I make a motion to approve resolution number 1917 as read.
I second it.
motion and a second. Norma?
Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
Councilmember Navarro?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaufman?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, now we'll move into the regular items. Consider approval of the infrastructure and services plan for the Ulmer annexation. Mr. Lopez.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members. This is the Ulmer annexation is part of the S-Power solar facility that's being, it's going through the process, and this is part of that process. It's down around Selma and Lemont Corner area, and it's fairly large. It's almost, when you look at it, almost the size of a NextEra, maybe a little bit smaller. But in accordance with the ARS statutes, what the city must do, mayor and council must approve an infrastructure services plan. All it does is this shows how we would provide services to that area once it's annexed and part of the city. And as part of this, we would take in 3/4 of a mile of Corman Road on the as part of the annexation. And then, of course, when you look at what we're going to get in other, construction sales tax and all that, it's going to be worth it down the road when we go through this process. The S-Power also already has a power purchase agreement with SRP, so they're moving forward with everything. In this case, there's some others that do not. They do. So all we're asking at this point is to accept the infrastructure services plan for the Ulmer annexation, and then the next item will be the actual resolution to adopt to adopt the actual annexation itself. So we're here to answer any questions you may have. The only thing I'll clarify too is in this area in the report, it'll be Arizona Water providing the water services. It may say Global because the city's been negotiating and working with Global on certain things like wastewater. So we just found out that actually there's an agreement between Arizona Water and Global that west of Sunshine Boulevard is Arizona Water. So we just want to clarify that part, and that's the same on the next one that's coming up, which is the Selma 73 annexation. So, all right, that's the only thing I have besides what's in. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Do you have any questions down here?
No.
I don't have any. It's pretty cut and dry. That's quite a report that we get. They all seem to read the same except for little portions.
Yes.
But if there's nothing further, then I need a motion.
So, Mayor, move to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. That one carries through. Number 12, ordinance number 19-12. An ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, extending and increasing the corporate city limits of the city of Coolidge, Pinal County, state of Arizona, pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 7, Arizona Revised Statutes and Amendments thereto, by annexing thereto certain territory contiguous to the existing city limits of the city of Coolidge, consisting of 239.3 acres more or less and located within Section 6 and 7, Township 7 South, Range 8 East of the Gila and Salt River Basin Meridian, Pinal County, known as the Ulmer Annexation, and authorizing initial zoning of agricultural for said territory.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, as I stated before, this is part of the S-Power project, and this is the actual ordinance to bring the property into the city, 19-12. And the conditional use permit was already approved for this. There was a public hearing held on May 28th, 2019. We had no comments against it. If approved, the next step will be the major site plan in front of P&Z. I believe that goes probably late September, October. It depends on when they get the plan turned in, but they're working on it. And so if you have any questions, we recommend that Mayor and Council approve the ordinance annexing the Ulmer property and move forward with this annexation. And we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Questions? No. I don't have any. We've seen this a couple of times before. So if there's no questions, I'll need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve ordinance 1912 as read.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Norma?
Councilmember Kaufman?
Yes, approved.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
Councilmember Navarro?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to move around on it for those of you who got a program, the agenda. We're going to move number 14 ahead of number 13. Consider approval of the infrastructure services plan for the Selma 73 annexation. Mr. Lopez?
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is the other portion of the Selma 73 annexation, is the other portion of S-Power. This is to the north of the large piece. They're going to create the solar farm. So in this area, on the far east side, there'll be the Gentai that'll go up, and we had a public hearing on that in the Artisan Village a few months back, and public showed up, and nobody was against it. They just looked at it and see where it's going to go. So this would tie into the Pinal Central substation, and this is a plan of how we would provide services to the property once it's annexed, if you go forward and annex this into the city. So it gives a plan that's attached on how we'll provide those services. And we're here to answer any questions. And the next item will be, again, the actual ordinance to bring it into the city.
Like I say, I've seen it before. Anybody questions down here?
No.
Down here? Okay, there are no questions, then I need a motion to act.
Mayor, move to approve item number 14 is read.
Second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Move to item 13. Ordinance number 19-13, an ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, extending and increasing the corporate city limits of the city of Coolidge, Pinal County, state of Arizona, pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 7, Arizona Revised Statutes and Amendments thereto, by annexing thereto certain territory contiguous to the existing city limits of the city of Coolidge, consisting of 79.6 acres, more or less, and located within Section 31, Township 6 South, Range 8 East of the Gila and Salt River Basin Meridian, Pinal County, known as the Selma 73 annexation, and authorizing initial zoning of agricultural for said territory. Mr. Lopez.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is the ordinance 19-13, bringing it into the city. Again, this is part of S-Power's solar farm. We had a public hearing on May 28th also in 2019, and we had no comments against the annexation or the property. Let's see, we turned in signed petitions on August 12th today for the county, and they were recorded. Our next step again is P&Z, probably late September, October, whenever they get the whole site plan ready, and they'll come forward. So this is part of that step, so they can then finish that up and turn it in and go through that process. And I'll answer any questions we have.
Well, I don't have any. We've seen this a time or two down here. Okay, if there's no questions, then I will need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve ordinance 1913 as read.
Second.
Okay, no, there's a motion and a second.
Vice Mayor Henry,
Yes.
Councilmember Navarro,
Yes.
Councilmember Murrieta,
Yes.
Councilmember Walker,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaufman,
Yes.
and Mayor Thompson.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Item 15, resolution number 19-18. A resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, amending section 3-5-3, Charlie 10 of the city of Coolidge Personnel Policies and Procedures Handbook regarding overtime and compensatory time. Discussion and action. Chief?
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members. Currently, a stone garden detail is always filled with 2 sworn personnel, an officer and/or a sergeant. If one of the 2 must cancel at the last minute, which occasionally happens, the other will not be able to work that detail unless a replacement officer or sergeant is found. Many times the cancellation comes at the last minute and a replacement can't be found. Therefore, the officer or sergeant who can still work the detail must now cancel, because all stone garden details require 2 personnel. Adding the commanders will give us 2 more possible options to utilize on the weekends if there is a last-minute cancellation by one of the officers or sergeants assigned to that particular detail. Adding the commanders to the details will also provide command staff with the opportunity to observe and mentor officers and sergeants, thus allowing for much better oversight with our involvement in stone garden. The Arizona Department of Homeland Security requires an existing state, county, city, or town policy before they will approve any agency to work stone garden. In 2012, we created a new city policy so that we could join the stone garden program. That was 3-5-3C10, which was approved by council. To add the commanders, staff has written additional policy that would be added to the existing policy. The wording has been approved by City Clerk Norma Ortiz. Also, Financial Director Gabe Garcia has also reviewed and approved this request. The following Arizona law enforcement agencies currently allow exempt employees to participate in stone garden: the Douglas Police Department, Cochise County Sheriff's Office, Eloy Police Department, Pinell County Sheriff's Office, Yuma County Sheriff's Office, Florence Police Department, the Nogales Police Department, and the Department of Public Safety. I appreciate your consideration of this request and will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Go ahead, Joey.
Chief, are your reserves allowed to work stone garden?
Currently, they do not. And the reason being is it's for pay, and we don't pay our reserve officers.
Is it, I mean, this may be outside the realm here, but is it possible to pay them an officer's pay, a base pay, starting pay, if they were allowed to work it also?
Councilmember Walker, something we really haven't thought through. I mean, we
I
haven't.
mean, the reserves, I don't have a problem with the commanders working the details, but I think they should be the last resort. They work Monday through Friday, no holidays. They make quite a bit more money than patrol officers and sergeants. We have several reserves that I know of that come out, especially during Coolidge days, Cotton days, and they donate their time. The city pays for, they're covered by workman's comp, but they're not compensated in any other fashion. I know in the late 70s, early 80s, the majority of the police department was all reserves. And if it wasn't for reserves, there's times I don't know what this place would have done. But is there a way to pay them whatever the lowest starting salary is for getting police officer to allow them, or give them the opportunity to work stone garden?
I mean, Councilmember Walker, I don't know, I mean, I think it's something we could probably look into. I haven't went back over and saw a job description for the reserve officer. I'm sure we don't have any starting pay, we don't have any pay for them.
Correct. Currently, in the way our reserve program works, they're unpaid. It's volunteer.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
think one of the other things, and Chief, you might clarify that this is straight time for these commanders if they're out there. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that the priority still rests with the officers and sergeants.
The priority still rests with the officers and the
If
sergeants.
there's another officer that wants the assignment, they're prioritized.
Absolutely. This would be an emergency situation where there's no one else that can work it, and if no one can, then the other partner would have to cancel.
Vice Mayor.
What Jimmy's talking about back in the, I think, 70s and probably the 80s, the reserve officers actually did get paid, and they came in and worked patrol when they were shorthanded and were actually paid for that. So maybe this is something we could look at. I don't know how many reserves you have, but
I would not be opposed to that.
Well, I understand that, sorry, Mayor, that the program's kind of restricted because of the workman's comp thing right now. So you're kind of limited on the number of reserves that you're allowed to have. But I was looking for a way to compensate them, because I know they do donate a lot of hours. Looking for ways not to take anything from the commanders, but looking for ways to also compensate those guys who donate their time when we need them.
Right.
I believe at this time there might only be one reserve that would even consider doing it.
Something we can look at, Mr. Mayor. You know, we weren't prepared to really address that tonight. The policy before you is to let the commanders work this in these emergency situations.
So can we approve this and still address that situation?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember
tabling
Walker, yeah, I think you can clearly, because this is the topic tonight, I think it'd be appropriate if you wanted to approve this, change the personnel, but then direct us to go and look into adding also reserve officers. I think council can clearly do that.
Thank you.
What I'd like to know is about the retirement. On the Stone Garden, when we approve that, does that include the retirement monies?
The ERE is all included.
And would it do the same for somebody like, well, commander, let's say, came in and is retired and drawing money? Would he, if he works that, is he going to get any retirement off of that too? Does that go in there too? That's not coming out. That comes out of the Stone Garden budget, doesn't it?
Correct. There's no cost to the city.
It's not going to cost the city extra money.
Correct. It will
Okay.
not.
Okay, that's what I'm concerned with the most, is because we've got a big bill already on retirement, and I want to make sure we're not adding to that bill, are we, Mr. Garcia? No. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I do believe, and you can quote me or tell me if I'm wrong here, I believe that if a commander or any officer works Stone Garden, those hours and that salary is calculated into their annual base.
That is correct.
And that annual base then is used to calculate the 3 highest years that they're paid is used to calculate their retirement. Is that correct?
Their 3 highest years are used.
So there is an impact. If they work Stone Garden detail and their salaries are elevated above what they would normally receive, they could potentially receive a higher retirement income because of the higher salary that the years that they work the Stone Garden. I want to make sure that you understand that.
So then the city would be paying more money eventually.
It's retirement. Their retirement pension would be higher.
Yeah.
Their payout.
Okay. Well, we only have 2, and how? I mean, realistic. What are we looking at? They're not going to run out every weekend and work Stone Garden. I mean,
No.
based on, I wouldn't imagine they would.
No, that's not the intent.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, you know, there's a large amount of Stone Garden money available because another community dropped out of the program. Is that correct? Tucson?
Tucson did.
And that's why there's extra money this year, more so than we've received in the past.
I'm not sure if that's entirely the reason. It may be, though.
If you don't use it, the Stone Garden monies, it's likely you won't get as much the following years to support that detail.
Go ahead.
Chief, if for some reason both officers or sergeant cannot work, is it possible, since some of the other jurisdictions are involved, can you get an officer from one of the other jurisdictions to work with ours? Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Vice Mayor Henry, that might be possible. I know that when we first began with the program, we went and trained with officers from other agencies. And I believe when we did that, we were just paying our officer, and the other agency was paying for their officer.
Okay. But it could possibly be done.
I believe it could be done.
Okay.
And really, this impacts, well, I guess you can make an argument it impacts the entire sworn department, the Stone Garden participants. It impacts all of them, but really, we're talking about 2 commanders.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm not
We're
sure.
talking about 2 commanders, aren't we, Chief?
Correct.
Okay. So that's what we're doing it for, so these guys can make some extra money, or so they can basically fill in if nobody else wants to come out and do Stone Garden?
Both those are the reasons.
Okay. And maybe nobody's doing as much Stone Garden anymore because some of these other, off-duty jobs are paying more money than some of the Stone Garden jobs.
They still work them, we just get cancellations. We
Okay.
had 9 cancellations in July.
9. And well, give me an example. How many non-commanders did you have to fill in?
Honestly, Mayor, off the top of my head, I do not have the number of officers that participate. Not all of the officers do. But we have a rotational list that we will then start calling officers if we have a cancellation. Depending on how much time there is before the next detail, we may fill it. If it's kind of a last-minute cancel, and a lot of times that happens on the weekends because of officers' issues with their families, their personal families, and that being when family does things most often on the weekends. Those ones are harder to replace.
Okay.
And they do this when they're off duty?
Yeah.
I mean, do they take time off to do it, or?
No, they do it. They don't go to Stone. They go to Stone Garden when they're off duty.
Correct.
Obviously, they don't. Yeah. So, yeah, I see what's happening. I just wondered. It would have been helpful if we knew that, if they went out 9 times and 5 of those times they had to have a fill-in. That would have been helpful to know, as opposed to maybe once.
There were quite a few more than 9 details. There's at least several details a week, and sometimes more. So those 9 cancellations were, I'm guessing maybe a quarter of all details for the month. It was a higher number than usual as far as the cancellations go, but that was just the example that I have.
Okay.
I just have to add something. So what we're saying here is the commanders, they'll be making the same pay as what the officer would be making if the officer had been there.
Councilmember Kaufman,
Be a bump?
it depends. They would only be making straight pay, what they currently make. The officers make time and a half. So our top officers and sergeants will be making more hourly working Stone Garden than the 2 commanders will. The 2 commanders will be making more than some of our younger officers make. But all of the non-exempts work at time and a half.
I had one thing, just what Vice Mayor Henry was touching on. Would an officer be able to take a vacation day from his standard patrol to fill in for Stone Garden so he could make the time and a half on the grant, or would he have to fulfill his station and not take the time off?
No, we currently do not allow that.
Okay. That's all I have.
And has all this been ran through the Department of Labor law rules to make sure with their overtime rules that we're meeting their rules?
Yeah, I can jump in. I mean, I think one of the questions goes to what qualifies as overtime hours. I mean, council, this issue came up to council a while ago, because I think, Chief, you might remember this, but I think previously, I think the city allowed anything over 40 hours to constitute overtime pay. And then years ago, and so then if you did have a couple sick days or vacation pay days during a week, but then still worked a couple long days, you'd get paid time and a half. And a lot of departments do it that way, still to this day. I mean, I think a lot of departments, Chief, if I'm right, pay that way. I mean, if you, whether it's vacation, sick, or whatever, if you work over 40 hours, they'll pay overtime. We changed it years ago so that we would only pay overtime for hours worked. So that's how it has been changed here, and so you have to actually work over 40 hours to get time and a half. So that's how we've changed that. And Stone Garden, though, allows you, if they did work a vacation day during the week, to work overtime to Stone Garden, but that doesn't get charged to the city, right?
Correct.
So, but with regards to Department of Labor, yeah, Department of Labor, any hours worked over 40. So you can make them hours worked versus any hours over 40. So I think either way the city wants to do it would be fine with the Department of Labor.
Any more questions?
No. Well, see, we're doing a bunch of stuff.
Okay. Well, then I guess I'll need a motion to do something.
Motion to approve resolution number 19-18 as read.
Second.
Okay, Norma.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaufman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Navarro?
Yes.
Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, thank you very much. And council members.
I think Councilmember Walker.
Okay.
Did council want the city to look
Oh,
into
yeah.
the issue of reserve officers and whether they could qualify if there was a way for us to pay hourly? Is that
Yes.
the direction of council? Okay.
I would like to, yes.
Okay. We'll look into it and we'll get back to the council on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like we're down to report from the mayor and council or city manager. We'll start down here with Councilmember Walker.
I have nothing to report.
I had a meeting with the folks at the library. It was a nice visit, walked through, was introduced to the staff there and got some exposure on some of the added things that the library does. And it was a nice visit, nice time. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Tatiana?
I have nothing to report.
I also have nothing.
Vice Mayor? Okay. Rick?
Just a couple items, just to let you know, we did receive Friday last week, application for site plan review for just under 400 apartment units at the Casablanca Apartments, north of Vacayan Road. I think I might have said something about that previously, but the site plan application did come in, so our planning commission will be reviewing that site plan in September, I think. Isn't that right, Tim? September? And then
Where was it at?
that's the Casablanca Apartments. You know where there's one unit there north of Vacayan Road, east of the railroad tracks.
Okay.
A developer would like to go in there and finish building out apartments in that area, which would be very, I think we're lacking apartments in the community. We also received a site plan application for the tunnel car wash that we talked about, that we did the abandonment of the alleyway for over there across from the Artisan Village. And so we'll be processing that as well at the Planning Commission meeting in September. Anything else?
The article about Domino's.
The what?
The article that's all over social media about Domino's coming back to Coolidge.
Well, Domino's? I understand that they're going to be going back into their
Original building?
original building, original suite, I think they still had all their equipment and everything in there. They're just going to go back in there and reopen it, which is good news. A lot of activity is going on in the Development Services Department around town. Our street crews are staying very busy, cleaning up the alleyways around town. I know they were working in the area between Coolidge Avenue and I believe it was Vaki recently, and so everybody's staying very busy and very occupied right now, trying to not get overwhelmed by the heat, but working really hard out there.
Yep. They're staying busy.
Yep.
Okay. Since the last time we met, I have attended the census meeting, Project Safe at the California Apartments, attended a CAG meeting, breakfast with the mayor, an RTA meeting, a youth council meeting, ribbon cutting at the new JP Court down here on Central. We did a graffiti cleanup Saturday morning. Me and Mr. Lopez did a lot of painting. Some people didn't show up. And that's about it. I don't have anything further to add. And thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you very much. I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.